Hey guys, welcome to the analysis for February 27th. Today is Wednesday, so right in the middle of the week. Should have some good liquidity and movement in the market for today and tomorrow. And as you can see, today did move pretty nicely. You can see the euro dollar bouncing from the 130 zone. Didn't get quite down to 130 today, but a nice little stall yesterday and a pretty good turnaround today. So perhaps going up to retest the 132.50 area. Maybe just a kind of a centering of that previous bearish bar before going lower. So potential either way there. So we'll talk about the euro dollar in a little more depth, along with a lot of the other pairs today, like the US yen looking to break up. And we'll have a great time going over the analysis and talk about a lot of trade setups. But before we get into all that, we'll cover our news really quickly. We'll go through our terms that you need to know, and then we'll get right back into the analysis. Alright guys, so as you can see tomorrow, the news is pretty light. There's quite a few of the orange tagged events, a little more minor events like German unemployment, French consumer spending. You can see a lot of that stuff. But as far as red tagged events, there's just two major announcements. Of course, because it's Thursday, we have these prelim GDP and unemployment claims announcements. They always come in at 8:30 a.m. on Thursday. And so we'll see how that affects the market. Again, the euro dollar bouncing today. Some interesting news from Bernanke about not backing off the stimulus today, which ended up making the euro gain a little bit. Kind of a counter reaction, as one might expect. But anyway, we'll see. Maybe this US dollar news tomorrow, if we get a really good announcement for unemployment claims, could kick that euro dollar right back down toward lower prices into 130 or through 130. And so some really good pivotal potential there for that announcement to see exactly what feedback we get from the currency. Alright, so that's the major announcement to look at tomorrow. Later on, you see there's a manufacturing PMI at 8 p.m., but I definitely think that the unemployment claims at 8:30 is the major thing to look out for tomorrow. Okay, and then just to quickly cover our terms, for legal purposes, the United States government does not allow us to give investment advice. We're not licensed or registered by any regulatory authority to do that. So really, Winners Edge Trading is just a website to give you free information and free education, and that's what the purpose is. If you need to fully understand all of that, just take a minute, pause this video, and read through these terms. But I'm going to go ahead and move over into our analysis. Okay guys, so again the euro, you can see stalling out here at the bottom of this zone that we're looking at. Definitely a historic area, where we've seen price stall before, and definitely doing that. Did not get quite down to 130 today. Really stalled out at exactly 129.98 or something like that before turning. So we didn't get quite down to our 130 area here. But definitely looking to bounce. Now this could be something where we just center kind of in the middle of this area and then look to continue and break through. Because this is a major zone, oftentimes price will stall out, even if it is planning on continuing lower. To me, the euro still has a lot of potential to get all the way down toward much lower prices, potentially coming all the way down to 125. So for me, this does not mean anything yet. Could be a retest of this trend line before going lower. Could be just a centering and stop right in the current area. Could channel for a while before heading down. But to me, until it really makes a full momentum break all the way back up through 132.50, the bullishness does not really affect me, does not mean anything. And so I'm still very bearish on euro dollar overall. That doesn't mean that I wouldn't consider taking along on the bounce back up toward a little bit higher prices, maybe into here or into 132.50. Depending on what type of trading style you use, this could be a great buy from support, including the continuation of a pretty long-term trend here, even though it is below the trend line. That doesn't mean that the upward movement is completely invalid. So definitely a trade potential, but for me this would be a short target type trade potential where I'm actually looking to go back short overall here. And so basically what I'm waiting is to see where this might go, to see where it's going to retest. Again, I think it could stop right now, but more than likely it'll head up toward this area before turning back, and then we'll look for the continuation from that point. And so just taking a little break on euro dollar for me and waiting for a better price to look for the continuation to the downside. Once again, I still think that the euro has a lot of downward potential. Alright, pound just kind of consolidating in this area. You can see here a few bars back and forth, not really making a retest of any areas. One area, of course, will be this 152.80 area for a retest and continuation. Has not done that. Also has not broke down below where it gapped to at 150.60. So still, for me, no really trade setups or trade signals for the pound. I'll be waiting for a retest or a break of this area, or a break and continuation toward 150, but in the middle here is not really a trading area for me on the pound. Okay, odd dollar still struggling here in the 102.20 area. Yesterday you can see that it stalled out here, and today same thing. Tried to break lower, came back and closed above. Depending on if it continues this, eventually it's going to kind of struggle with this steep trend line here, and we're going to get a little bit of a wedge formation here, where the breakout will have to come sooner or later. And so again, a situation where I'm still very bearish on the odd, steep movement, but you can't ignore a major area of support. I really only have a line here, but it's more of a zone where this whole area is a support zone. And so before it breaks all the way through this level, it's going to be hard to take a short and expect it to continue all the way down to 1 or 99 or 98. So unless it breaks up, I don't think there's going to be a lot of trading potential here. If it's struggling in between this area, to me that's going to be difficult to look for trade ideas unless you're looking for intraday bounces. But what I'd really like to see is a break below this level, heading toward 1, heading toward 99, and trade it in between these zones. Definitely a lot of good bearish potential, and definitely good bearish momentum, but you got to see the clear breaks of these zones, or else the trading possibilities are just not quite there. Alright, so next we'll move on to this USD CAD, and you can see the USD CAD has some nice reversal momentum here. Stopped right here at 130 with this nice pin bar, and showing some continuation today. Again, you might not be completely bearish on the USD, but it's one of those situations where it could set you up with a stop above 103 and targeting an entire reversal, all the way back down to below 101 or right at 101. So really nice risk reward potential back into one of these major zones. But it's kind of one of those trades where you got to contemplate. It could be very easily just a hook back before a nice continuation on the USD CAD, but at the same time, because there's a lot of risk reward potential there, and the possibility of a reversal setup, it might be it might be worth the risk for you to take it. So a possible trade setup there to consider on the USD CAD. Certainly, it's not one that I'm going to take. I'm not a big reversal trader. It takes a lot for me to really jump on a reversal early in the game. But for those of you looking for possible trades, in the reversal type setups with good risk reward, the USD CAD could be a very legitimate setup. Alright, the Euro Yen finding support. Yesterday we stalled out right near 120 and making a nice bounce. So another area, for reversal potential. We talked about the Euro Dollar. Euro Yen in a pretty similar situation where we could legitimately see a test of 122.60 or higher up toward 123. Perhaps this could be just the hook back before the continuation all the way up to new highs. So whereas the Euro Dollar doesn't throw me as a potential long, the yen weakness could come through again more legitimately than the US dollar weakness, and we could very likely see a continuation. This could just be an extended bullish flag type situation where we're actually just looking for the next leg toward 130 or 132. So the Euro Yen is definitely something to consider. Okay, Euro Pound, again, kind of still ranging here. It looks like a nice move back to the upside. You can see we had the bullishness here, the big gap, and the pullback here, and then a nice little continuation move, 2 bars inside right now. The issue, of course, for me is still just this range and the fact that of all the confusion here, the steep drop here, the gap up and fall back down here, kind of the channeling back and forth around 86. So even though it looks like a nice bullish potential that could easily get back up into the 88 area, it's still a trade that I would probably hold off on, just because of the confusion on the Euro Pound and just the idea of waiting till it develops a little more direction and consistency before just jumping on the wagon. And again, waiting for this Euro, because right now looks like there could be Euro bullishness potential, but also that Euro reversal. The potential for the Euro to fall back to the downside is still very real, and so maybe you want to make up your mind, on this Euro sentiment, whether it's really going to reverse and weaken before jumping on longs again, because really this could just be a hook back for the major reversal in the Euro Pound that started up at 88. So because of that, it's still a pair that I'm holding off on and looking for a little bit longer term potential once it gets out of this zone. Alright, and then just to finish up, I want to take a look at this Pound New Zealand. We haven't looked at it in a little while here, because we were tracking this break, and then once it started retracing and consolidating here, kind of took our eyes off of it for a while. But what's interesting is that we got the break here. It actually gapped down all the way toward 1.8. and is now back up and consolidating right in our original area. So this could be a potential here for a continuation toward lower lows. The pound New Zealand, of course, nearing all-time lows. This was the all-time low as it gapped, and so because of all the momentum here from this recent fall, a continuation leg could be very possible right from this area. Now that we kind of have this consolidation, could be a flag type situation, or just the market slowing down and kind of catching its breath before continuing lower. And so the pound New Zealand is always one that I'm looking at, and has that potential. So I'd definitely be keeping an eye on this to see if we get that continuation to the downside. Alright guys, and that's it for the analysis. I hope that you enjoyed it, and as always, leave any comments or thoughts, and those are greatly appreciated.